Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today I'm joined by the Series 16 Ice Queen, and together we're going to make another awesome mock Fairground Friday ride using these flower gears. Well, I'm not standing apart from the Ice Queen for social distancing reasons. No, really, it's for my own safety because I see the Series 16 Ice Queen as a very dangerous individual indeed. No doubt inspired by the Chronicles of Narnia books by C.S. Lewis and the films that star Tilda Swinton in the character role of the Queen of Narnia. And this is a rather fantastic series minifigure, but one that's very hard to use in a conventional city, and that's why I thought I'd use her as the inspiration for today's ride. So I'm going to put her back very carefully a distance away because don't tell her, but she's a bit evil. Don't tell her I said that. But before we get on to today's ride and using all of these lovely flower gears, I do want to go back to an older ride that we did before just to show you a couple of amendments. And that ride is the top spin ride. And you'll remember this, it was very scary indeed, and definitely one that I wouldn't go on. But you've probably seen the main change already. Since then, I bought 4 of these rather fantastic sort of spinning buzzsaws, and I've added one more stud's worth of space in between the 2 stanchions to accommodate them. And, well, they are rather scary, aren't they? And rather fantastic. So when you press the button for this to go around now, they kind of... Golly, that looks awful. They spin round as well as the ride cars themselves. And what's more, when you stop it, they continue to spin for a bit, which I absolutely love. So this ride looks even more scary now. And it's definitely a great improvement. So thanks very much for the person whose name I've forgotten who suggested that. So I also asked for names for this, and I do quite like the name Top Spin, given that's what the real sort of life equivalent of this ride is called. But I did get some other ones that I liked. One was the Double Dipper, which I quite liked, but I think my favourite was the Turbo Tumbler, because I very much see the sort of motion that this ride goes through as being a bit of a tumble, so that's really good as well. And then a less significant change that I made, if I just sort of spin this around a bit, hold on, let's get it facing the right way, there we go. I've put the kind of inverted tiles on the bottom there on both carriages, just so the studs aren't showing when it's upside down, because it is upside down for quite a long period of time. And that was also a subscriber suggestion, so thanks very much for that. Right, so I think this one's in a fit state to go back into the queue for the fairground. So now I think we should get on with today's ride to add yet another one for my fairground area. And this one's going to be quite compact, but very cool indeed. Brrr. The flower gears that I'm going to be using for the motion in this build are becoming more and more prevalent in sets. Firstly is decoration, where their kind of interesting shape is very decorative indeed, but they're also very useful mechanically because they're quite large for the number of teeth that they have on them, and as a result they get some rather sort of pleasing motion when one runs around another. And that's been the basis for quite a few sets as well. The first one that I noticed was the Jurassic World set, Triceratops Rampage 75937, which had, well, kind of eggs on all of these gears going around a central point. And the point being that when one of these gears goes around a central one, not only is it going in a sort of large circle around the outside, but the actual gear itself is kind of spinning on the spot. And that's a very sort of pleasing sort of motion where something is spinning on 2 axes at the same time. So that was the sort of motion that I wanted to replicate. So I got straight onto planning and kind of came up with the rough bare bones of a ride, but not really the theme that would kind of link it into a coherent end product. So basically I put it to one side to come back to later. In the meantime, there was another set, Harry Potter this time, Hogwarts Clock Tower, also from 2019, 75948, that did a very similar sort of setup where there was a central gear with ones going around the outside, except they were a lot smaller this time, with couples dancing, and that would mean that they would be going round in a big circle while they were dancing, but also kind of spinning on the spot. Same thing. But in each case, it's important that the central cog is basically held in one place, because otherwise the motion won't work. And each time that was done by a great big pillar coming from above, and therefore it has to be an arm coming from the side, kind of like my finger is, so it kind of go underneath an arch and kind of round. And I really didn't like that look, so I got onto building a technique where this would be held kind of hidden from underneath solid, whilst also the gears could go around the outside. And I thought I was very clever to have come up with a way of doing that that was successful. And then what came along was the ice skating rink ride, set rather, from 2020, 40416, where basically they, did exactly what I'd done on LDD, which was create a mechanism that was held from underneath. So there's this sort of innocuous looking fountain in the middle that isn't being held by a great big finger from the sky, but isn't going round, and is allowing the flower gears that are meshing with it on the outside to spin both on the spot and go around the sort of bigger circle. So effectively, that sort of stole my thunder in a way, meant that I wouldn't be the first to come up with this sort of more streamlined thing. But then again, maybe I will, because I mean, mine's going to be motorized for a start. This is very stiff and kind of clunky, because you have to use flower gears here that go through another at the bottom and all the rest. So it really is quite stiff to turn this around. And though I'm sure you can make it a bit more smooth, it's not the best. So I'm hoping to do a similar thing to this, but with much bigger flower gears, these ones here, and have some really interesting cars that have all got a sort of Ice Queen themed action going on. So I won't need to cannibalize this. This was given by Barry, aka Audiotron 1003, as part of Brick Hall 100, and I had great fun building that, so thanks again, Barry. But I'm hoping mine will be even better than that. Cool. Right, now given that these will not be needed until we get to the top, I can put those to one side and focus on all of the mechanics that's going to be held in the kind of basement level of my fairground. Familiar people will know, I'll say it again, that there's a 3 brick height sort of area that I'm going to hide all of my motors and mechanics in underneath my fairground, so it looks really seamless on the top. No wires, nothing like that, no gears and all the rest of it. And the gear that I'm going to be using in this case is this very interesting 2-part one here. I don't know what the name of it is, but nonetheless, basically it can be held at the bottom by the kind of grey part and be turned like this by another gear to create the motion around the outside of our ride, whilst meanwhile having a hole in the middle, which allows something more rigid, represented by this axle, being completely static. So effectively that can turn all of the carriages around the outside, whilst this remains completely still. So all I've got to do is basically find a way of attaching this very firmly to the base from the underneath, as well as that, and then powering the black bit. Very simple indeed. So basically I've got kind of a bracer, and this is just a setup that I came up with just to hold this in place. So I'm just going to put all of the right spacers onto this. Talk amongst yourselves. There we go, and that. Then I can put another one of those on and clamp it in place. So essentially when I attach this to a base, then that'll hold the bottom of this very firmly in place, and then I can have that in the middle like that, and that's not moving either. So you get to see what I'm trying to do. So really now I just need to find a way of connecting something else to these very unuseful kind of sideways axle holes, because I'm going to have something kind of flat on the top. And the way that probably isn't brilliant that I've come up with is using these Technic half pins, which have kind of got the stud on, and then I can basically push these pieces, because I've only got very limited Technic pieces in my collection, kind of through like that, kind of halfway through, and then I can get one of these 4x4 plates with the hole in the middle, because obviously the hole is incredibly important, that's the whole point, to go on those half pins. If I can just get it right, the spacing's a bit tricky. Let's try that's one side on, and there's the other side on. And then I can put that back through there, and you'll see that it isn't moving when I turn this whole mechanism. Right, so now we've got some connection points. Okay, so I think the next part is to try and power the black gear. So I'll just bring in a kind of rig that I did earlier that's going to have all of the bits on. So this is the height underneath the normal ground level that's going to have all the workings in, and I can put my newly done kind of mechanism there, and I can put my axle that isn't going to turn in the middle. So there we can see it in position, and that'll be completely hidden. So how am I going to power the black gear? Well, I'm just going to use one of these big gears here, and kind of chicken and egg as to what you need to put in first here. I think I might need to put that in and then that in. There we go. So that is powering that. Ooh, smooth, nice. And powering that, I'm going to use a Power Functions medium motor, but with a worm gear, because otherwise it'll be going crazy, crazy fast, and that's not what we want at all. So that's going to go there and there, push that down, and then if I bring the battery box that I was using earlier in, we should be able to see that whole thing powered. All right, so that's quite a slow speed, but I think when everything's going round, oh, it's lifting a bit. There we go, push that back down. This will be held in from the top, so I'll do that with my finger. But you'll see that it is going round at a very steady pace, while this isn't moving at all, and that's the most fundamental part. And basically, I think that that very slow speed as it is will transfer into quite a pleasing movement, because each circle of this, ooh, sorry, you've got to hold that in. Each rotation of this will mean that a car will have gone a full 360 around the track and gone on its own axis several times. So basically, I don't want to have it too fast, otherwise everyone will get ridiculously dizzy. So there we go. Right, so I need to start building up the kind of outside now. And this will be the ground level that you will see to conceal most of this. Hope I'm doing this right. And it should leave just enough space for everything that we've just done to still go around, if we've done it right. There we go. It's a close thing. If I sort of let you see it from above, those Technic pins are just going underneath the ground level, and this on the diagonal is only just missing the edges of that hole. But there you go. This is now rigid. This is now rotating. It's all concealed underneath the ground, and now can be connected to the next level. So I'll just turn that off because it's quite noisy. So this is where I'm going to add this surround, which is just one of these really odd shaped and kind of hard to use until you think, oh, that would be perfect for this. Kind of octagonal plates. And that's just got some tiles on, just so the layer above has got a smooth surface to sort of glide over. And that is going to hold all of that stuff together and give quite a nice presentable kind of appearance from the outside. So now when all of this horribleness is hidden, when it's integrated with all the others, you'll have a very compact ride actually that looks very smart indeed. And I really like the fact that this one's incredibly compact, because some of the rides I've done take a great amount of space to put in. So having one of these that's just as fun, really tucked in a small space in between them, will be even more special, I think. Right, so now I've got a platform that I can build the moving part from, a platform that I can build the static part from, all inspired by the Queen of Narnia's icy theme. Right, so now to build up the centre, I'm just going to add a couple of round plates, just because, well, I need some spaces really, and they were just available. And then I can add the octagonal base, but with the centre filled in, and a couple of tiles, so everything moves along smoothly. And then that should connect on top of that. So just give it a quick check. Yep, that's going round. That's still static. It's working. Then we have the central flower gear, which goes on there. And at the moment that's loose. And this is where we need to make the two joined up. So that's going to be held to the axle like that by a column of kind of transparent and translight blue round bricks, just to be a sort of column. So let's see that. Yep, so that's static and that's still moving. Awesome. And then I'm going to do some bits for the extra flower gears. So they're going to go on like that and like that. And I'll probably position them all a bit more carefully in due course, because I want them all sort of pointing different directions, so everyone's not sort of spinning completely synchronized like they're dancing, but some are at sort of different angles completely, and they're all at different phases of their spin. But for now, it's just proof of concept, so let's get that one in. Okay, so it's looking fairly pretty, I think, very bright and colourful anyway. So we'll get that going. So this will stay still without a magic finger holding it in place. And there we go. So we've got all of the outside gears not only spinning on the spot, but going around. And I think for Lego scale at least, this is probably the right speed. I think you'll agree now that if you were in a car in this, you'd want to be going too much faster. And it's just so small. I just think it looks great. So I figured I'd have some steps coming up. So when it was sort of, let's put it, say there, so you could kind of get on. And for that, I'm going to use some of my favourite tiles in the world. People who've been watching the channel will know that I absolutely love tread plate tiles. So I'm going to put some of these lovely sort of 2x4 ones on each of these. And then I've also got some 1x4 ones, which I can do kind of as a lower step going up to them. But at the moment, these are attached to horrible lime green tiles. So basically, I'm going to have to transfer them onto light bluish grey tiles using my patented hot tea technique. If you don't know what that is, then look at my tutorials playlist of how to move and fix Lego stickers. That's a really good video, very thorough, very long. So essentially I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. But first of all, I'm going to have to make myself a nice cup of tea. Okay, so that is the stickers transferred to grey tiles to finish off the edges of this. And now I've got 4 lime tiles that I don't really know what to do with, so I'll just throw those over there for now. And a refreshing cup of tea drunk, I can now get on to putting the 4 cars, one on each of these outer flower gears. And I'm going to base those on kind of this sort of a base, because I figure that's about big enough for a person. And first of all, I'm going to have a white round 4x4 plate, if I can get it on there, on each of these. In fact, I might take off the flower gear just to make that a bit easier. There we go. Much easier. And then I'm going to have kind of a foot on there for supporting this thing, like that. But then I'm going to put all sorts of detail onto this. So first of all, I'm going to kind of make them have this as the front and this as the back. And I'm trying to give them a really sort of icy look, like they're all made out of ice crystals and maybe part of a sort of Snow Witch's cave or lair or something like that. So I'm just going to be using loads of sort of transparent and transparent light blue pieces, all in different combinations all around. And I'm going to sort of steal the icicle sort of build that's been part of that ski shop that I've got with the Yeti on top, but also that Harry Potter clock tower set as well, just to kind of give the impression that we've got icicles coming off this. And we can also use these tooth pieces as well to do a very similar thing as well. And I'll kind of have those around the back and the rear of the 2 sides as well. So 3 icicles on each and 3 of the kind of tooth pieces. So that'll look like that. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And then along the front, I can put 2 of these jumper plates in white. Ooh, golly, yep, it is a bit fragile. There we go, put that back. I'll probably be doing that several times throughout. There we go. Then I can add some more colour with the trans pieces. Yeah, it's coming off again. How many times will the unicorn horn fall off? And then I can add some slopes here and here. And then I can add some detail along the back with these kind of lovely pyramid-y pieces. They look really pretty. Some more little bits here with some tiles. A nice sort of smooth finish. and then I can have that there and that there. So that looks very icy and in theme. I like that. And then I'm just going to put a 1x4 tile across the two jumper plates like that, and that's kind of the safety bar that will keep the rider in place. And then I can put that on to there, and then put my carriage back in its place on here. Can I? Yep, that looks good. And we can see it with one of these going around. Ooh, catching a little bit. I'll have to sort out that. No, it's sorted itself out. Something might be hitting somewhere. I'll try and find out where that is. And then I just need to add 3 more of these cars. So here we are. 1, 2, 3. And I have run out of white horns, unicorn horns for each of the icicles. So I need 5 more, 3 more on there and 2 more on that one. So I have to make do without those for now. But I will be getting those in a haul at some point. So here we go. Let's get all these on, and we want them all sort of pointing different directions as much as possible. Those two look a bit similar to me. Let's see if we can do it like that. Okay, so first trial run with everything on. Let's do it, say, that way around. Very good. Yeah, something's clicking on something. I think I haven't pushed down one of these steps quite enough. So I'll check that out. And then we can get some people to put in these things and then put on the pièce de résistance on the top there. I wonder if you can guess what it is. Well, I've fixed that, but it never ceases to amaze me the very fine tolerances when designing these rides. Essentially, this plate, this grey one, the octagonal one that's on the top here, is ever so slightly not flat, so it will catch on the raised steps as they were positioned. And the margin that I'm talking about is very fine. It's actually the thickness of a sticker, because basically it was hitting the edge of the sticker and actually peeling it up. So I've stuck that down again, and it seems all right, but basically I can't have these steps up as they were sort of one plate higher if I want this ride to be very reliable and consistent. So, well, the ones that we moved earlier from the lime tiles will go towards another task, I suppose. But we've still got the same kind of look for a ride. I think it would have been slightly better if those steps had been one plate higher, but if it's going to catch, then, well, we just don't want it to do that. So I've got all the cars on. I've filled 2, and just to show you, I thought I'd fill the 3rd one on camera. So we've got a very worried looking guy there. And he can be safely secured in with that crossbeam, and he's holding on for dear life and not looking very happy about it. So here is our next test run, and you can see now it's not catching at all, not even slightly, and she's really enjoying it. He's really not, and she's indifferent. But you can see what I mean about it being a very small ride now. When you imagine this surrounded by, a pirate ship and a carousel and all the rest of it, it really is quite small, and I think the speed is absolutely perfect. But what it certainly needs is something on the top of this ice pinnacle, and that's where our Ice Queen comes in and her very fragile waist. And I thought that she could go on the top, and she'd be sort of facing the main viewing angle. Let's say that's there. And I thought that she could be aiming her sort of ice streams in the air in 2 sort of separate directions to sort of make it look even more of an event. And I guess in real life, she's kind of not real, a statue, if you will. She's not a person standing on a plinth all day. That would be quite a hard job. But I think that adds to the decor for the ride. And I'm going to need a name for this one as well. I don't know if I need your suggestions, because I'm quite happy with my one, but you can volunteer them if you want. But I thought Escape from the Ice Queen. There would be a very good name for the ride. It sort of sounds like a film in itself. So this is, in my mind, the finished ride. And there is the Ice Queen, static, always facing us, and these going round on their own axis and around the Ice Queen herself. And I think that looks really good. And they're all kind of at different angles, and they all look a bit like they're going at their own speed. And I always like to leave one of the cars empty to kind of suggest that, there's room for somebody else on the next time round. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. I think it's nice and reliable. It's quite noisy with the motor sort of unshielded as it is. But I really like it. The other thing I really like about this actually is the colour scheme. Given that it is this medium azure and white and all these sort of trans colours, I think it looks very different from absolutely everything I've done already, and therefore it'll be a really nice sort of palette cleanser in between some of the more bold sort of reds and blues that I've used a lot more prevalently. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. But as always, do tell me what you think. So do let me have your suggestions for improvements to this ride, or maybe you've got ideas of where it should be placed in the fairground or what its neighbours should be. I definitely really appreciate all of your amendments. Other things that I appreciate are everything you're sending me to my PO box. I have decided to extend that all the way till the end of December. I've had a few questions of people still wanting to send me stuff, and as and when that arrives, I will include those packages as part of my weekly brick haul videos. And I may start saving them up nearer Christmas if they do start accumulating, so we can have a bit of a Christmas haul. That'll be really good. Thank you also for all your compliments for my Zeppelin train. They were really well appreciated. You also gave me a lot of encouragement to submit it as a Lego Ideas submission, where it could become a real life set. That would be absolutely fantastic. I wasn't initially planning to do that, but I definitely really appreciate you giving me that prod to do it, because sometimes that's what I need. It's one of the great benefits of having this channel with all of you supporting me from around the world. So I'm going to get taking some really nice photographs of that and make that submission in the coming days and, well, maybe weeks. But as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. Then next time on Robin Hood Bricks, Monday, I think we're going to be doing the water tender for the Flying Knotsman train. And that's kind of a prelude to doing all of the carriages for that in due course. Then Wednesday we'll have a brick haul, and then Friday, well, maybe we'll get on with one of the 2 remaining rides that we need for the fairground. So until then, see you!